Ta-da.
Oh, you do the face. Will you do the surprise face?
It works.
Oh, perfect. You practiced that so well. I love it. Welcome to Interfleet
it
Broadcasting.
4.8
IFB,
gigawatts?
Guys. That's right. I'm New York Pete. I'm with my buddy here, the Tipsy Toaster. Thanks for joining us on our pop culture sci-fi entertainment channel. Full disclosure, the Tipsy Toaster and I, we grew up watching 70s and 80s TV movies, cartoons, and the like, and we bring our unique, spin to this little corner of the universe. And everyone needs to know, if you don't already, that we happen to be really big Battlestar Galactica 1978 fans, and very big. And so therefore, we decided to put this little show together that's been on there now 5 seasons. We're very proud of
we're coming
the
up on
fans
6.
that support
We're
us.
almost there.
We're almost there.
We're
Season 6, Thursdays,
July, August,
hundreds of shows that exist and live on YouTube. So with that said, if it wasn't for the fans, if it wasn't for you guys, I see you guys popping on, and thanks for joining us from all around the world, down under and all over Europe. Chris Laskowski in Australia and all over Europe, United States, Canada, everywhere. We have a tradition here on IFB, and we toast the fans, because without them, there would be no fandoms.
Do we want to? Do we need anybody else on here? Or are we just going to do it ourselves?
Well, yeah. Let's bring everybody on. We have some really cool guests. You guys, I hope you're ready for this, because it's like we got them all stacked up.
No, I don't think the audio's on yet, but you got to give me.
Well, we're just going to toast. So
okay, we'll just toast.
Yeah,
so you don't have to say anything.
And Nev and Fran and everybody going on, and so
I just have soda.
You just have soda. You're going to do a little rum and coke.
I'm just going to add a little.
Oh boy.
Just a little bit to it.
Oh my God! All right, please don't start. Wait till like 5 minutes so we can get all the buttons ready and everybody set up.
Mate.
Look at that.
Get it into you.
You know when you have to do that to the beginning, to the open of the
bottle. All right,
bottle,
go ahead. Take a swig. You're not gonna be happy till you take a swig. Go ahead. All right. Well, look. Here's here we go. Is right. You're drinking water, man.
Well, look, I have to work. Some of us have to work here.
Listen, this is work too, man. What do you
realize?
I know it is. It is.
But Tipsy doesn't need Tipsy's fine. He's got the Cylon, third brain. He's fine. He's
third
grand.
Kidney is what I need.
Drink away, yeah.
Third liver.
Let's toast to the fans. You guys, you make all the shows and genres, fandoms, and everything work. If it's not for you guys, we wouldn't be here, or we would be here.
We would be here, but just nobody would be listening to us.
Talking to no one. But so here on IFB, we have our own little saying, and that, of course, is Tipsy. Go ahead.
We appreciate you here. We appreciate all the people behind the scenes. And it's always the fans, because the fans fuel the fleet. So here's to the
There
fans.
you go. Here's to you guys. Cheers. All right. Well, we got some. We have like 3 awesome segments tonight. All right, relax, man. That's you must. I don't know what did you do? Did you put pepper in that?
No, it's 151.
You're crazy, man. All right.
By
Well,
the way,
listen, guys.
151 does catch on fire.
Yeah, it does. No kidding. So we got some cool stuff going on. And we're gonna jump right in. We have a segment that was put together by one of our executive producers, none other than Doc McAuley, and he's here and he's brought on a special guest. And it's a first time for us. And so let's welcome Doc and Nev. Come on, let's see if we can get them on.
They're on. Let me make sure their audio is
Excellent.
working. Give me
Gentlemen,
1 second.
thank you for taking the time out. I know that we had to kind of pull some strings to make this happen, but welcome to IFB. This is, you're back home again, Doc. You know that this is, your home as well. But Nev, thank you for joining us. And there's a lot going on in the world of sci-fi, both in North America, but as well as, overseas. And so let's start talking about that. I'm going to pass the baton, Doc. So you take it from here.
Yeah, well, it's a great privilege to have you on, Nev.
Happy to be here.
You've written for some of my favorite shows, to be honest. When I was a kid, I loved Have I Got News for You and Dead Ringers and all of that. But you've worked extensively on Doctor Who, and if anybody's seen the finale to a current Doctor, I'm not sure. That's a controversial topic at the minute because we're not sure what happened at the end of last week's show, but there was a big baddie that was brought back, Omega, and Nev has written Big Finish Audios about Omega. You were the script editor for Death Comes to Time, which was one of the things that kept Doctor Who alive back in the wilderness years whenever I was growing up. You won the prestigious Scribe Award in 2013 for your Dark Shadows tie-in, and you've penned some fantastic novels. So actually, Claudia Christian got me interested in your novels, and we'll talk about that a little later. But can we start talking about your love of Doctor Who, where it came from? Like, what era did you start watching?
Oh, right at the fag end of John Pertwee. I mean, I'm 1969, born in 1969, so I was the perfect age for Doctor Who. I remember being 5 years old and watching John Pertwee change into Tom Baker. And I don't know why I was thinking this because I was 5 years old. I was thinking, well, that's knackered the series. That's the series gone downhill now. I don't like the look of this new Doctor. So it was the perfect age for me. I was 8 when K9 came along. So it was wonderful. The show grew up with me a lot. It matured in the 80s and when I was 11, 12, 13, and I drifted away in my university years, but it's pretty much Tom Baker for me, stretching into Davis and the other ones. Yes.
Any favorite stories in that time period?
I love The Deadly Assassin because I love cliffhangers. As you probably know, I do love cliffhangers, and I love the idea of the Doctor shooting his own president and us just not knowing why he's done that for the following episode. There's a lot of wonderful gothic stuff in the Tom Baker early years, and I remember my dad used to scare the living bejesus out of me. I watched The Hand of Fear. I remember watching The Hand of Fear. I must have been 7, eating my yogurt. And the hand is scuttling across the floor, and my father put his hand right in front of my face and just went, Eldrad. And everywhere. I remember the brain of Morbius, the disembodied Time Lord with his brain in a tank, and the goldfish bowl head. I mean, all of it the fear was palpable, and I absolutely loved it.
Actually, I missed that part of Doctor Who. I love that sort of gruesome sci-fi horror aspect, and it was really deep. I think the storylines with the third and fourth Doctor were really deep, and I just loved. I actually Yeah, I think John Pertwee would be one of my favorites, just because he was like the James Bond, and he had the gadgets and he had the hovercraft. I remember he had the hovercraft, and you had you had Delgado as the master, which I thought he was a perfect foil for John Pertwee. He was just suave, smooth, and sophisticated.
It's like a lot of fans of my age, because these were the days, and we try and tell our children about this, but these were the days before instant access, before
Oh yeah.
streaming DVDs and all that. So we had to explain to them that this stuff wasn't just available at the click of a button. And I was introduced to John Pertwee through books. Books you read. The only way you could actually experience these stories was through reading books. And when the time I was 6, I had a reading age of 11 because I just devoured the Doctor Who books so much. And yeah, I got to find out new words like renegade. These were the first time I'd seen these words. And bipedal. I remember reading the Star Wars book and seeing the word bipedal and wondering what that was. Fantastic. I mean, it's funny in this day and age we talk about we would get so worried about spoilers. In those days, I used to read the books before the movies because the books came out
Yep.
before the
Yep. Yep.
movies. I read Star Wars and
Absolutely.
Empire Strikes Back and
Yep.
Return of the Jedi. I was spoilt to buggery, and with loads of movies. And yeah, I read the whole Star Wars book before I saw the film, which was that thing when you're disappointed because your imagination's done all the work. I remember the Star Wars book with the black photos stuck in the middle. It was an
Yep.
absolute thrill. And the Doctor Who books were absolutely treasured. I mean, I used to go down to my newsagents every month to see if there were any new ones about, and it was an absolute thrill. I was a very cheap date. My mother just bought me a Doctor Who book, and I was happy for the weekend.
Do you have any of the Target novelizations still? Have you still got some of those?
Ugh. My my house was my father was a lumberjack, and his
That's
house was
okay.
very much.
Sorry.
It was very, it was very messy and very damp. So most of my things got bookwormed and damped up. I have a handful of my Target books from those days. I managed to rescue about 5 or 6, and they're stuffed in a corner alongside Nicola's, 'cause she gets given a load of books as well. So we have a
I've
little.
got I
Oh,
have.
oh,
I've got
I
Chase. So I was kind of similar. We had John Peel on here a couple of weeks ago, and I was John.
lovely man.
He's great. He's amazing. So I've worked with John a couple of times,
Sideburn.
and yeah, and it was him that started me into Doctor Who. I went down to the local library, a little town called Ballymena in Northern Ireland, and I used to go down to the local library, and there was a carousel, and you would go around the carousel and you'd have a look, and I saw it wasn't the Chase, it was the Dalek Master Plan, part one, I think it was. And I just liked the cover of it, and I read it, and I didn't really understand it. And then I got Peter Haening's book about Doctor Who, and then that got me hooked because there was
Oh,
no Who whenever I was growing up at all.
Mm.
So yeah, the books were a big thing for me. So I
We had a
ended up,
library van. We had a library van that used to come to
oh
our village. And occasionally there would be like a book like The Carnival of Monsters or something like that. And I
yeah,
mean, absolute bonus just to get inside this tiny little lorry thing, van thing with lined with books and yeah, I think I had Deadly Assassin, and I think I kept quite a few longer than I should, and had quite a sizable fine at the end of that.
did you ever read any of the New Adventures, the Virgin New Adventures that came out after '89?
I did. I started quite strongly, and I think I lasted quite a while. I mean, I'd never got into the idea of the Doctor as this lonely, manipulative god. Um, my feeling of Doctor Who is it's always been the best possible show that's ever been for kids. Uh, and that's why it's so special because it's a lot of experienced writers and experienced actors and experienced directors working their backsides off to make this amazing show for kids. I mean, I know it's family, but it is for children to understand. And I think the Target books were also the best possible books in the world for kids. They were absolutely amazing. And the New Adventures I thought were just okay books for adults. And they didn't feel as special for me. There were some that stood out. Paul Cornell's work stood out for me. Ben Aronovich, he's a good mate. They stood out. A couple were quite special, but there wasn't a big enough hit rate for me because I wasn't really wedded to this idea of the Doctor being this callous, manipulative person.
Well, speaking of callous and manipulative gods,
Yes,
you
yes,
wrote Omega.
I did. Yes,
So you wrote he was the trying to say first time Lord because in the classic he sort of was. He was the guy who he started it all, right? He was the guy who started the time travel and that the Gallifreyans got time travel because of Omega's sacrifice. Did he jump or was he pushed?
yeah.
But yeah, can we chat a little bit about that and how this project came about and your feelings about Omega?
Well, this was the early 2000s when there was again no Doctor Who apart from sound Doctor Who. Big Finish were making audio, radio plays available on CD, and I had accidentally got involved with a BBC webcast thing called Death Comes to Time, which was Sylvester McCoy, Seventh Doctor, and that was streamed. I don't know if that was the word even then. Streamed on the BBC website. And we were kind of rivals because, I say, the Big Finish were the only game in town until we came along. I mean, I say we, it's Dan Friedman's baby. I was just a special advisor, a scientific advisor, as you were. I just blundered into the project. So my profile in Doctor Who had sort of gone up a little bit because there was a lot of interest in Death Comes to Time, and I'd sent a pitch to Gary Russell at Big Finish, and he didn't take it, but out of the blue, he asked me if I wanted to do Omega for the 40th anniversary. They were planning this trilogy of villains, Davros, Master, and Omega. And he asked me if I wanted to do Omega, and I was absolutely thrilled. I love Omega. I was glad to do him over Davros and the Master because he always reminds me of, well, you know those supergroups where they get incredibly popular, but the mad bloke who founded them ends up obscure, like Sid Barrett out of Pink Floyd, or is it Peter Green out of Fleetwood Mac? They always go mental and disappear. Omega's like that kind of guy. He started the supergroup, but he never lasted to see the actual success of the supergroup. Peter Gabriel, a different kind of lunatic with Genesis. So I liked him. He was a lonely god stuck in another dimension with his face pressed up against the glass. I started writing it thinking of the Flying Dutchman because I thought that was a nice metaphor to start with. And yeah, I think he's an interesting character. Not a lot of justice done to him on the screen, but as a concept, I like him very much.
Yeah, I think the intellectual villains and villains that you can almost say had a legitimate gripe are the most powerful to write. And Omega, I think, had a legitimate gripe. Um, but if we look at now New Who, have you did you see last week's episode?
I did, yes.
Okay, and
Go on, let's feel our way.
how did you? Yeah, how did you? I'm trying to be as diplomatic as possible with this. How did you feel
Ooh.
about how Omega was treated as he briefly flitted across our screen?
If I want to be utterly honest, relieved because I wasn't retconned. Uh, I could have got retconned. My story could have been retconned. I didn't mind it too much as part of the story because Omega is meant to sort of develop each time we see him, and the fact that he's degenerated into this animal, I thought was an interesting idea. It was an interesting idea and quite disturbing as well. The fact that a guy can sort of stuck in isolation has just lost his mind and become like an animal. It was a gruesome concept. I once saw a document. I once saw a drama about the princes in the tower when they were talking about. It was chiefly concerning the pretenders that pretended they were the princes in the tower after Henry VII became king. And there was a terrible scene in which he was shown into this tower and the princes were still there, and they were adult and they were mad because they'd been kept in the tower in the darkness and their tongues had been cut out. And it was the most gruesome and awful concept that I thought that they could still be alive. Um, and the idea that Omega was there slowly decomposing in his empty universe, going mad, I did find it very disturbing. I wish they'd gone into it a little bit more. Um, but I wasn't as bothered with it as some people. I think a lot of people wanted the shoutiness and the big face off between the Doctor, like they had with Davros and a few others. But I didn't mind the concept. I didn't mind the concept. There was a lot of issues I had with the episode, but weirdly enough, Omega wasn't one of them.
Well, if we can move on to your novel work now, uh, you're now, you're a prolific novelist. You've written a series that kind of touches on well, two series that kind of touch on sci-fi. We've got the Mervyn Stone mysteries, which are amazing. I think they're great. It just blends the whole mystery and sci-fi thing. Can you tell us a little bit about Mervyn Stone, who he is and where he comes from?
Well, I've always been in love with light detective novels. Ever since I used to read Agatha Christie when I was a teenager, and I'm also a big fan of a guy called Simon Brett who writes light detective novels, and we've become good friends since. And he used to write a series of books called the Charles Paris Mysteries. He still does, and it's an actor who becomes a sleuth by accident, and wherever he goes, there's a murder, whether he's doing a fringe play or a sitcom or he's in a corporate video, there happens to be a murder and he gets mixed up in that. And I like that idea of a series of books moving into different areas of a guy's profession. And I also thought, write about what you know. So Mervyn Stone is a creator, writer, script editor of an old 80s science fiction show called Vixens from the Void. And his life is spent, at the time, his life was spent going to conventions, doing DVD commentaries, appearing in comic book shops and signing his name and repeating the same anecdotes ever and over again, like a weird Scheherazade. So I got the idea that wherever he went, there was a murder, and Mervyn, with his script editor's brain, would be able to piece together the story and work out who did it. The first one was set at a science fiction convention. That was called Geek Tragedy. The second one, which you see now, is a locked room mystery. It's a murder that takes place during the recording of a DVD commentary. So they're all inside the studio. And one of them picks up a bottle of water, opens it, drinks it, and is poisoned. And none of the other bottles have any poison in them. And it's obviously aimed at this guy. So it's a locked room mystery within a locked room mystery. How did the poison get into the bottle? How did it get to the intended victim? And the third one is a reboot of the old science fiction show. They're trying to remake it down in Cornwall in the West Country of England. And someone's trying to kill Mervyn while he's down there as the advisor to the new rebooted Vixens from the Void. So that were the three books I wrote about Mervyn Stone, script editor and detective.
Highly recommend it for myself and Claudia Christian. Your second series is Kit Pelham. It's quite a new series. I have your fan that knew too much, which is, I think it's the latest one, right? It's the latest one that came out. And again, it's kind of got it's a sci-fi theme, so it's a bit of sci-fi super fan, right?
I'd parked the Mervyn Stone mysteries for about 10 years. I mean, they got great reviews, but the publishing company weren't interested in making any more. And I'd happened to bump into this guy at a party in Islington, which is very Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And he's from Titan Books. And I explained to him about the Mervyn Stone mysteries. And he said, that's amateur detective is just what Titan want to do. And this sounds fantastic. It's got sci-fi in it. It's got detecting. It's got your amateur sleuth. But we don't want Mervyn. We like to reboot it with a fresh detective. And I said, well, okay, well, let's do a fan. So Kit Pelham is a fan of Vixens from the Void. And of course, fans being fans, they know more about the show than anyone else. So that's the premise of the new books. In the first book, The Fan Who Knew Too Much, this group of fans think they've uncovered a murder that happened 35 years ago during location filming for this old science fiction show. And they decide to investigate it by pitching a Blu-ray documentary to the BBC to bring the original cast together where they filmed it in location, get them to reenact scenes from the old science fiction show and work out who did it. From Hamlet, literally, the play's The Thing, where you capture the conscience of the king. So they bring them all together. So that's the first book, The Fan Who Knew Too Much. So Kit Pelham is a professional fan in my universe. This is 10 years down the line from Mervyn. The series has been rebooted. It's now at streaming on Flip Top, a streaming service. So it's quite big again, obvious parallels. And she's a professional fan who writes for magazines and for documentaries and things like that. And next month, I have Lies and Dolls, which is another Kit Pelham mystery. And it's about action figures. It's about a serial killer who only kills priceless action figures. The serial killer breaks into collectors' museums and where they keep them, steals the action figures and sends them back in bits. And the great thing about that is, because it's their collectibles and the collectors take it very seriously, it's all treated as a murder, because they are horrified that these priceless action figures have been unboxed, torn to pieces, and sent back. It was originally called, it had a title for a very long time, which I really wanted to use, but they said it was a bit risque. It was originally called 10 Little Figures, based on the old Agatha Christie. And the rhyme is in there. There are, every time the action figure turns up in bits, one action figure is turned up in bits, there's a rhyme that goes with it. And they're trying to stop it. It takes place in a toy museum in the wilds of Lincolnshire, in the rural England. And there are a variety of suspects, one of which you quite like, which is a comic book shop owner who owns a bookshop called a comic bookshop that he did own one called the Star Shop Enterprise, but that went bankrupt. So he's got another one called Battlestar Galactica.
Oh,
There you go.
By the end of the book, he's got a third one called And So to Dread. But and there's just it's fun. It's fun. It's a bit science fiction, but it's not too science fiction. I pride myself on a really good detective story, and a really good solid one that works on its own without kind of the geeky jokes. But the geeky jokes are a bonus.
Well, as you're talking about that, all our listeners are going to catch that there's a little bit of there's trademark humor in there because you're a satirist, and I think that's a great combination. I actually find writing humor difficult because as everybody knows, I'm a dark, morose bastard. So whenever I read your work, it's the humor comes through. Now there's a third book. It's not a series; it's an individual book I want to talk about. I think it's one of my favorites of yours. It's quite a dark psychological thriller called Painkiller. And it's fascinating. It's about a lady called Monica Wood who's suffering from chronic pain, and she discovers a suicide note that she can't remember writing. And I think it's just that premise alone should get everybody running to Amazon to buy it. It's great.
I mean, a lot of people say it's my best book. It is a darker, less jolly book. There's a lot of humor in it. Monica's husband goes to buy a gun at one point in a back alley, and he buys the gun, and he starts behaving a little bit like a customer, because he's middle class. He wants to know if the gun works, so he's talking about his customer rights. I knew someone who had chronic neuropathic pain, so I had a lot of research in my head about this. So I wanted to do this. I started off writing it as a play, and I eventually realized it had to be a book. I think it helped. It was helped on its journey by reading Before I Go to Sleep, which is a similar kind of thing about a woman with short-term memory loss who keeps waking up and not having an idea of where she is. And I think that's making it very personal and very first person made it work. It goes in lots of directions that you probably don't expect it to go. I was extremely pleased with it. There was a lot of a fight over publishing houses to actually have the chance to publish it. It's a good book. I'm very proud of it. Yeah, thanks, Chris. It was a good.
So you should be. It's no secret I suffer from neuropathy in the hands and the feet, and I have a neurological disorder. which causes elements of memory loss, vertigo, all sorts of things. So maybe that's why the book sort of spoke to me a little bit.
A lot of people, come up to me
yeah,
and say,
it's
I've got sciatic
good.
pain. I've got this, and it really spoke to me. And wasn't uncomfortable reading places, but I really did enjoy the book.
No, well, thanks for writing it. Now I want to talk about Dark Legacies because you're a character in Claudia Christian's Dark Legacies.
You could probably tell more than me about Dark Legacies. I'm not Apparently, I'm a character. I wonder how many I've got in that.
We've got your lovely partner Nicola Bryant in there. She's Claudia Christian's ex-girlfriend in
the book.
In the book, yes, I have to make that very clear. In the book, and there's a fantastic cover there that has Nicola and Claudia on the front cover, and I had to write you in this next issue as well. So you are sort of the resistance leader.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, I can't remember if I even sent you the story or not. There you go. You are the resistance leader. You are leading a prison break.
Ooh.
And the fantastic Glenn Fabry is drawing you at the nuts.
Amazing. I've loved Glenn Fabry ever since his 2000 AD work. His work on Spain was amazing.
So I think I've got you with two blasters in hand, and you're leading this brave resistance. So there you go. I think
not really handled a gun. I know my father was a lumberjack. My grandfather was a gamekeeper, but didn't let me hold a gun. But I'm willing to try.
Well, there you go. So I just want to say very publicly thank you to you and Nicola for being involved in it, because it means a lot to myself and Claudia. And now I want to segue into Dead Ringers. So Dead Ringers was originally a BBC radio show, smash hit radio show. It became a smash hit TV series, which is what I watched. We've actually got a clip that we can show. I think we'll maybe show that now just to give everybody a little bit of context to what Dead Ringers is.
Yeah.
Stand by.
No, it's good. I watched it just before, and it's good. I think everybody's gonna appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
That would be screen share. We go there. We go here. We go fade. We go there.
Well, I just wanna. There we go. You got it? Okay, cool.
Give me 1 second. I just gotta get the audio set up. Otherwise,
All right.
it's gonna be echo. We don't want to echo, do we?
No echo.
No
I
echo.
want to thank everybody for tuning in, both on YouTube and all our social media platforms. So thanks a lot, guys. Shout out to all of you. Appreciate you.
Stand by.
Earth, 1997. An interstitial time helix. Galaxy grade. Obviously the work of Sontaran tube effect worms. Those slave relay support rods are the largest I've ever seen. If I'm right, they'll be tapping into volcanic fission at the center of planet Earth. That kind of power. Those pods could be jettisoned into E-space at superlucent velocity. I must save them. Excuse me, my good woman. Those pods, do you know where they go?
They just go down.
What, into the universe of antimatter? Or Alzarius?
Come down the other side. Are you Doctor Who?
I am known only as the Doctor. So the pods go all the way up and then all the way back down again.
Absolutely.
Greetings, everyone. This is most fascinating, isn't it? It would seem as though we're on a large observation wheel. If only that were true. No. This is a galaxy-grade interstitial time configuration helix, operated by the Sontarans from their base on Phobos, the moon of Mars. And we are all trapped aboard one of its outer cryogenic chamber pods. The Sontarans must want to capture us and turn us into reptilian hatchlings to swell their populations, to help in their long-running war with the Rootans. You see that building there? The large clock? You know what's in there, don't you? Wankers!
If you would like to move to the northeast and northwest edges of the capsule, facing towards the spiral staircases, we will take your photograph.
Don't do it, it's a trap. These cards, which depict the interstitial time delay helix across there, how much are they?
Oh, 45 pence.
Have you got change of a Gallifrey and Zonk? That's highly dangerous. Don't touch it. You are Autons from the planet Tossos. We haven't much time.
Excellent.
That was
Very
brilliant.
cool. Yeah,
It's brilliant.
it sure is.
And it's coming back. Now, can you tell us a little bit about that? It's coming. Is it next week? It's coming back.
Yes, I mean we went to radio and then went to TV, and then when our impressionists got too old to realistically visually depict celebrities, we went back to radio again. We have a radio 6 weeks on Radio 4 starting next week. So that's us. Yes.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
All that
never
stuff.
heard- I never
All that
heard the-
stuff. Go on.
Never heard the fourth Doctor say wankers as convincingly. Brilliant, absolutely
All that,
fantastic.
all that jargon is John. John knows so much about Doctor Who. I didn't have to help him at all. The guy, the impressionist, John Colshaw, he is such a Doctor Who fan, and you hear him a lot on the Big Finish recordings. He's now the Brigadier and the Master in the Third Doctor audios. I got him onto Big Finish way back at the start. He played the Fourth Doctor in one of my first audios, The Kingmaker, and since then he's just been popping in and out, filling in for the dead.
Well, there we go. Yeah,
Great job.
Thanks for coming on, Nev. It's been fantastic to chat to you, and I'm sure we'll have you back in the future, mate.
It's been a great deal of fun.
There we go.
Yes.
There's some more.
There you
There's
go.
some more. The Big Finish work.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the Kingmaker. That's who killed the princes in the tower. I really enjoyed that one. I actually worked out what happened. That's with Columbus. Trouble in Paradise.
Wow.
Death Comes to Time, which started the whole ball rolling. Actually, Perry and the Piscon Paradox. That's one that's a lot of people's favorite. That's my partner Nicola Omega.
Nice.
And that's
It's
Omega.
another Omega.
Yeah, as he appears in the
Last
finale, a bit
episode. Oh
different.
boy.
It's a
Did
little
everyone
bit
else see
different.
it? Did everyone else see it?
I saw it. I
Yeah.
did. Just
Then-
yesterday, as a matter of fact. Just last night. And,
Controversial. Right.
I don't know. I wish it was written differently. How about that? It's I don't know. I
You
felt
can just say it. You can just say it was fucking shit if you want to.
yeah.
You can just say.
Beep, beep, beep. Yeah, I was not happy. It didn't really feel, it didn't have the flavor. I watch it like you were saying, Nev. We now have the ability of pressing a couple of buttons and watching everything, right then and there. Back in the day, here in the United States, we were watching Tom Baker in the 80s, and it was a couple of years old already, but it was new to us and we loved it. I was a big Tom Baker fan, and every week we'd be waiting to catch up on, they would usually play 2 episodes at the same time, and so it's taken me a while to get to where, we're at now. I kind of let go after the first season of the latest Doctor Who, and then we discussed this and we heard about the controversy. I talked to Doc McAuley, and then I went and watched the finale last night, and I was like, what the heck is going on? So
What's interesting for me? What's interesting for me is I watch a lot of streaming stuff and I watch a lot of modern TV, and it's weird that Doctor Who is the only one that doesn't use cliffhangers. And it was a show that absolutely relied on cliffhangers to keep the public watching. And I miss that. And I do not watch the show for weeks on end because there's nothing to keep me tuned in the next week. Like the classic show always kept me going next week, because no matter how bad the story was, the cliffhanger forced the writer to come up with something 25 minutes in. Just something, anything to keep it over to the next week. And I do think we should go back to that kind of thing, because I don't think hour-long episodes suit it sometimes. And I think after 20 years, it's time for another change.
I agree totally. Nev, I mean, look, with good writing, an hour episode is okay, but if it's not written well, it doesn't matter if it's 20 minutes, it's not going to hold up. It's just not going to be good. So disappointed. Hopefully, more people like yourself, if not yourself, and maybe, who knows, even the doc who's been involved, somebody, fresh needs to come back that are fans, and maybe rework it, and save it from where it's headed, because it's doesn't seem healthy.
I loved Shitty as the Doctor. I thought he was great. I think there's a lot of compassion and empathy, and
Right.
he was really good. I loved Anita Dobson as one of the Ronnies, and I love the fact that Russell T Davies got a two Ronnies joke in there as well, with the and he's a superb writer. I think for somebody like myself, the concept of Omega was fascinating, but there just wasn't a lot there. I loved the Satan pit. I loved the whenever we look at whatever the devil was, whenever Tennant's doctor goes down into the pit, and there's this mindless creature, but the mind is gone, but it's possessing it's possessing Lars. And Gabriel Wolf's vocal tones there were just perfect for that. I mean, that's what I liked about the Sutek episodes in the last series.
The thing is, though, you never know. You don't know how much Disney have told the production team what to do, whether it should be specifically aimed at a younger audience, whether that you have no idea what the notes are for the show. So it's difficult to say what's it aimed for, who's it aimed for, what do they have in mind, because the book doesn't stop completely with Bad Wolf and Russell, does it? I don't know.
No, I don't think it does, and I think there were circumstances, that we'll never know. And I think the best was done with the time that they had. So I encourage everybody to watch it. Watch the whole season. There's some there's some great moments there. The Well is one of my favorites.
Lucky Day is quite good, this series.
Lucky Day's great.
Lucky Day is a good one. I say really individual episodes are very good. It's like they kind of like the skeleton of the series is a little tired, because they have been doing this breadcrumbs thing leading up to having a little bit of mystery leading up to the climax. They've been doing that kind of format for 20 years, and I think it should be laid to rest now, because it doesn't keep me watching. I didn't care who Mrs. Flood was, and I didn't care who Miss Twist was, the series before, because it's not going to be answered the following episode. Unlike classic series, in which the cliffhanger would be answered.
It's a complete story. Complete story arc. Well, before I go, I've promised to say happy birthday to a friend of ours, Rachel Cartwright, who's watching at the minute.
Oh, so Rachel. Yes.
Happy birthday, Rachel.
Happy birthday.
Rachel, I will raise my Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy mug and toast you.
She is the grand age of 30. I can say
wow.
There we go. Well, so there we go. Cheers, Rachel. And with that, I'm going to go.
All right. Well, thank you, Doc McAuley. Thank you, Nev.
Pleasure.
Open door. Next time, whatever it is that you have coming out next, or you have some kind of appearance at a show, a convention, whatever it may be, just let us know. We'd love to have you come back.
Oh, well, actually, I've got a Big Finish coming out as well, the same month, weirdly enough, but it was written so long ago. It's a complete surprise to me. What's it called? Red for Danger. That's one with the Sixth Doctor and my partner Nicola Perry. That's coming out next month as well. So that's a plug alongside Lies and Dolls, my new book out in July.
Excellent. We look forward to you coming back.
Bye, folks.
All the best.
Bye.
Cheers.
Slancha.
All right. Well, what'd you think of that, Tipsy? Huh?
I have to say, I don't know anything about Doctor Who.
Well, you better
zero,
change that tune.
Double zero, anything with Doctor Who.
You need to. We're gonna make.
I remember seeing it on PBS, the original Doctor with the big curly hair and everything else, and thinking to myself, "Wonder what else is on."
You had a deprived childhood, man.
Yes.
We're gonna have to change.
It was
that.
in
We're gonna
Wyoming.
fix
I mean,
that.
come on.
Yeah. See, that's it. It was the
Now-
air
now
and the water in
do-
Wyoming.
Do I find it interesting in regards to the time travel and everything else? I think what scared me away was it seemed confusing to me. Since I
You
wasn't,
didn't watch enough.
I didn't watch
You
it
didn't
enough.
watch the right doctor.
So,
You got to
right,
watch
I
the
did-
right doctor.
Well, it would have been Tom
fourth-
Baker,
the
I guess,
fourth
because
doctor. Tom Baker, baby.
he has
You'd
the
get
curly
hooked.
hair one, right? The very first one that I always watched. It was
Got
like
the scarf and the hat.
the scarf and the hat, and
Yeah, you got to
and
watch
it was
man.
like a real cheap production, like on a stage. You could tell. And,
it was great. That's
it was,
what made it even better.
Okay, well, that's what kind of I was like.
boy. Wow, we gotta re-educate you. That's what we gotta get you some audiobooks and some of the audio
Audiobooks
dramas.
now, I do love audiobooks. Now that's something I probably will
That's what
pick
we're
up
gonna get
as
for you.
an audiobook or
Come
two.
Christmas, I'm getting
Yeah.
you some stuff. All right,
I love
cool.
my
Well,
audiobooks
We
'cause
appreciate
I do a lot of
Nev
driving.
and Doc McAuley coming on,
But-
and hopefully.
But it's a great
that-
universe. There's nothing
yeah.
wrong with that. I think it's fantastic that I've been to a lot of cons, and I mean I've been to a lot
yeah.
of cons, and
yeah.
you see a lot of Doctor Who, and I've always wondered, what's the attraction to this? I mean, the telephone booth. I got my picture taken next to the telephone booth, and I'm like,
Oh, the
I don't know,
TARDIS, yeah.
the TARDIS, and I don't know anything about it, but
Well,
there's so many
it's
people
iconic.
dressed up, so many
Yeah.
people. It's like they have a huge fandom, and
absolutely.
and that's what's great. I mean, if
Yeah.
you have written something, or you have directed something, or filmed something that inspires that many people, that's fantastic. You've shared something
absolutely.
that nobody else has given these people, and they live in this world. They love this world just like we love Battlestar Galactica and a lot of other
yeah.
ones. So
Well, I'll
I
tell
think
you,
it's
I'm jumping in
fantastic.
on
So
Guys
I
and
probably
Dolls.
should check it out. I
I'm
get
getting
it.
that right away.
What's that?
So that's one. I'm getting one. One of Nev's books, Lies and Dolls. I'm going to be ordering that as soon as we get off the air.
But I think I would run into a problem if I'd grab that book or a book without knowing anything about the universe. I don't know anything about the sonic
But
screwdriver.
Nev writes. He
or-
writes mystery. He writes murder mystery books too. So we can.
Oh, well, that
I'm
I can-
going to get you. I'm going to get
Has
you
he got
a
an
list of
audiobook
stuff
for
that you
those? I
need
can
to
definitely
do.
do those.
We're gonna. Well, hey, you have to look. You can go back and read. You know how to read and write. So listen, it's not
think
all
I do.
about the audio.
It's been a while.
Hey, speaking of, news, we have Tiny Bean waiting for us in the
Give
green
me a
room.
second. So tap dance for a second,
And-
would you?
That's cool. Let
Come
me
on,
tell you
tap
something.
dance.
I just
Actually,
want to
we'll do
make
it this
sure
way.
that.
There you go.
we
Now you can
have-
tap dance.
All right, good. We have Commander Kane, Paul. How are you? Thanks for joining. Lola, of course, and Erica, Rachel, and I know George G's in the house. I already mentioned Chris Laskowski from Down Under. James McCoy, how are you, buddy? Representing Star Trek, big fan. Bert Oliver Bomer, award-winning sci-fi author, as well as Rick. Rick, how are you? Another sci-fi award-winning sci-fi authors with us, and Phil, thank you for joining. Oh, Dave, my buddy Dave Francoeur. Thanks a lot, guys. And everybody else that's on. Rob Baum, unofficial fact checker. Kim Harms. I don't know. I hope I'm not missing. I know there's a few of you that are watching on YouTube, few of you watching on some of the other thing, all of you that are watching us live, and thank you everybody that watches us later on. Sometimes we hit that, I don't know what it is, and it goes into the thousands, and that's really cool. Appreciate all of you for taking the time out and tuning into IFB Interfleet Broadcasting. So we have Tiny Bean Tara is going to come on, and she's going to give us an update. And then right after that, we have the BSG Battlestar Galactica fan fiction segment that we're going to dive right into. Shawn Scialo from the Battlestar Bulletin Board is going to be here with us, or is actually in the green room. And then we have Superfan Fran and Professor Paddon, all going to go right into all that cool stuff. Hey, Tiny Bean, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great.
What a fantastic show so far. I'm sorry,
Oh my
I was
God,
sort of like
absolutely.
fangirling over
Yeah.
that whole Doctor Who segment, and
Oh, yeah.
and there was a Hitchhiker's Guide shout out at the end. Oh, that's my jam.
So Tiny Bean, we already mentioned that you're working on an audio drama. I've reviewed everything that you sent and the audio drama that you're starring in, which is part of the Tower Protocol series. It's moving forward. We're getting all that sent out to our audio engineer Ryan Hall, and he's going to be putting that together. And so I'm going to keep you up to speed as to when we do the release. So that's happening. You're multi-talented. Thank you so much for being a part of the Tower Protocol. So you are
Absolute honor,
awesome.
Pete. Thank you.
All right. So you, I think, are. I saw your segment, the deck that you had, that you sent over all the pictures and stuff. There's some cool stuff. We'll talk a little bit more about it afterwards. So if
Sure.
I think we'll see if the Tipsy Toaster is ready. There we go. It's all you.
Excellent. All right, ready for some eclectic stuff here, guys. Well, hello, IFB. So good to be back. Welcome to Tiny Bean's Corner, where we discuss new, old, and otherwise interesting things for the fleet's potential viewing pleasure. We are on the tip of summertime here in the States, waiting on a lot of the big blockbusters to hit, but there are a handful of smaller things coming up that may have flown under the radar, so I'll tell you all about those. Then some wild rumors out there on some potentially cool projects and some fun stuff to look forward to this fall. So let's dive in. First up, Netflix has a really cool detective drama on right now. It's called Department Q, starring Matthew Good, who's been in so many things. It's a Scottish show. Love the international Netflix offerings, and based on a popular Danish book series. It definitely has that girl with the dragon tattoo feel to it. I'm only a couple of episodes in, but I am really enjoying it. First episode is a little slow, setting the stage, but stick with it. Each episode is a little stronger than the last one, and by all accounts, it's a stellar ending, and a second season is already rumored. So check that one out if you're looking for something new. Next up, remember last summer's delightfully surprising action comedy Fubar
Amazing.
starring Schwarzenegger? Well, he said he'd be back, and he is. Fubar Season 2 starts June 12th on Netflix. If it is anything like the first season, it will be easy viewing with plenty of laughs. This season also adds such notables as Gabriel Luna and Carrie-Anne Moss to the mix. Check this one out, guys. Arnold rarely disappoints. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, coming soon to Apple TV is a new miniseries called Smoke, created and written by Dennis Lehane, the man who wrote The Great Mystic River and produced tons of great stuff like Shutter Island and the Outsider series. This is based on a true story about an arson investigator in the Pacific Northwest. Starring and co-producing is Taron Egerton, who just wowed us last holiday season with the fun Christmas action thriller Carry On. He has developed an impressive resume and a reputation for delivering. I'm anxious to check this one out, guys. The buzz here is very strong. This will start on June 27th on Apple TV. Now, it's rumor mill time, guys. Let's start with this one. Yoo-hoo, I'll Make You Famous. Remember the classic 1988 Brat Pack Pretty Boy Western Young Guns? Regulators! Such a good time. Billy the Kid and his band of outlaws, with a cast that included Emilio Estevez, Lou Diamond Phillips, Kiefer Sutherland. It was such a hit, they came up with a sequel, Young Guns 2, adding Christian Slater to the mix because, of course. Well, here we are many moons later, and Emilio is back, promising Young Guns 3. Now, as Magnum would say, I know what you're thinking. Didn't they all die at the end? Well, not exactly. Slater and Phillips' characters you don't actually see die on screen. And the premise was also based on a true story that an old man walked out of the desert one day claiming to be Billy the Kid, who had been hiding out for many years after Pat Garrett supposedly killed him. So there's the hook. And this is really happening, guys. I mean, more news drops every day, and Emilio says filming will start soon in New Mexico with him, Christian Slater, and Lou Diamond Phillips. The 80s kid in me is jumping for joy. So, now, here's a more intangible rumor. Remember the series Manifest? We talk about it a lot here in the corner when it was on a few years back. It was originally dropped by the networks, leaving fans hanging, and then it was picked up by Netflix to finish it. Well, there is a rumor going around by actor Josh Dallas, who said that they had filmed a secret scene meant to be a post-credits drop, but it was never added to the finale. The key point to that scene was to open the possibility of a spin-off. So, stay tuned, guys. I hope this one pans out. Now, next up, in some great stuff coming in a few months, I want to bring your attention to. Now, I'm always saying, guys, watch this trailer, watch that trailer. Well, this time, I'm afraid I must insist. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, we've talked about a few times here. Well, they have finally released a trailer. Boy, did it blow me away. You must see this, guys. The visuals are outstanding. Oscar Isaacs looks completely unhinged, and the whole package looks equally compelling and terrifying. If you ever had any doubt who the real monster is in this classic story, you won't anymore. I am legit counting the minutes till this one drops, guys. And that was even before I saw the trailer. Starring Oscar Isaacs, Mia Goth, Jacob Elordi, and Christoph Waltz. This will hit Netflix in November. And finally for tonight, I'm just going to say a name and tell me what your reaction is. John Candy. See? I bet you smiled. It's basically impossible not to smile when you think of John Candy. Well, get ready for a documentary that I think we all need. It's called John Candy, I Like Me. Directed by Colin Hanks, whose dad Tom starred in Splash with John, and later the movie Volunteers, in which an 8-year-old Colin had a role. It's also produced by Ryan Reynolds. This documentary is set to headline the Toronto Film Festival on September 2nd and will hit Amazon Prime soon after. John Candy made over 44 film appearances in his life. Such greats as Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Spaceballs, The Great Outdoors, Uncle Buck, Home Alone, Cool Runnings, Vacation, Stripes, and even a dramatic turn in Oliver Stone's JFK. He had a genuine everyman quality on screen that was impossible not to love. This documentary will feature stories and anecdotes from family and co-stars about his life and who the real John Candy was. Spoiler alert, looks like he was even more lovable than you already think. We like you too, Dal. And that is all for the corner tonight. Back to you, Pete.
Outstanding as usual. Thank you so much, Tiny Bean. So I just want to make sure that this is clear. We are going to be releasing a new audio drama. It's in the Tower Protocol series, and it's starring none other than Tiny Bean. So it'll be, we'll keep you posted. It's getting there. It's getting closer now that I think we have all the audio, or pretty much. We still have to cast one more person, and once we get that, everything, all the audio will be in place, the dialogue will be in place, and then, but it's already in the hands of our sound engineer. So looking forward to having that out. It's gonna sound fantastic, and it's starring Tiny Bean, and oh yeah, it's gonna be a good one. Thank you so much, Tiny Bean.
Yes, thank
Looking
you.
forward to the
Anytime.
next one. Karen's out there, and who else? And Chuck and Baz. Thank you all for joining us
Oh,
live. We really appreciate it.
all my
And
friends.
Oh, absolutely. So there's all kinds of, I think there's a few wishes out there and a few hellos. So if you get a chance, you might want to look those over, Tiny Bean. But again, thank you so much. All the best. And we'll keep everybody posted on, next thing we do is we're gonna create a cover for that audio drama. So you'll hear from me soon, and then I'll send that up to you so you look at that, and then we'll move forward, but with the announcement, with the more official announcement of the audio drama that you're starring in, related to the Tower Protocol. So, cheers and thank you.
Thank
Tiny Bean.
you. Thank you, everybody. Great to see you all. Fans, fuel the fleet.
Fans feel the fleet.
Absolutely. So,
on my second one.
yeah, you're a little have to fall down.
No, I'm good.
So, before we start the segment, I just wanted to let everybody know that while we were on, we just confirmed that we've put it out there that we are actually working with Glenn Eric Larson, and we're working on a comic book.
It's
and it's
amazing.
It's a brand new IP, which may feature some familiar faces in the sci-fi world or from the sci-fi world, all done in the spirit of the classic show. That's been locked down, and so that's going to be a part of the world building that we're doing with Glenn Eric Larson. And so I want to share that since it's hot off the press. Literally, it's probably 15 minutes old. That's all confirmed. So as we get closer to getting the novel out, and now the comic book is confirmed. So as we get permission from the publisher to put this out, we'll start releasing. We have a working title for the screenplay and the story. So as we get closer, and then hopefully at some point, probably at the end of the summer, we'll be able to, fingers crossed, start releasing some of the names that are going to be attached to this project. And we're very proud of working with everyone. Doc McAuley, Tipsy Toaster, myself, George Giacomas, so and the rest of XG3 and IFB, because this is basically kind of encompasses a lot of the family. So thank you guys. So we're gonna get into fan fiction and BSG specifically. You guys have been waiting. You're so patient. Thank you. Our guests are so patient. We have Shawn Scialo, we have Superfan Fran, and Professor Eric Paddon. Welcome back, all of you, to IFB Interfleet Broadcasting. We have a lot to discuss because BSG fan fiction is alive and well, and there's plenty to discuss. And so, welcome, guys. How are you?
Doing great.
Hi there.
What's going on, Pete?
Listen, before we do anything else, when Nev was talking about his book, The Fan Who Knew Too Much, I'm like, wait a minute, I've got that. And there's a section toward the end that made me want to love this guy, because the whole book, there's references to other stuff. But he has this section, and it says, I'm not a fan of, okay, the thing is that they are, at the end of this, they're going to restart the old series. And he says, quote, I'm not a fan of reboots, really, said Mervyn. You spend time and effort creating all those characters. People get to know them and love them. And then you suddenly announce to the world, no, they're not good enough. I'm going to keep the names, which are irrelevant anyway, and then you recast them and change them completely so they might as well be new characters anyway. I know others will disagree, but I find it a bit insulting. But there are advantages, Kit said. You can wipe the slate clean and avoid all that baggage. Quote, but you can do that anyway by starting the story a little further down the line. And the best bit about doing a continuation, like our new series, is that you can have one or two of the classic characters turn up time to time, and they can interact with your new characters, and that gives you more opportunities for drama, don't you think? Oh, absolutely. I loved Vanity turning up out of the blue and interacting with the new main cast. It made it feel the same, but also fresh. At that point, I knew what he was talking about, and I'm in love with the man.
Yeah, I think so.
And that so ties into what we're going to talk about now.
Absolutely.
With the bulletin board.
Absolutely.
Shawn, thank you. You are like fresh air, and everybody has been dreaming for a continuation on screen. You're giving me the next best thing. So, well, if you go on Facebook, you'll find there is a Battlestar Bulletin Board private group. There is a Battlestar Bulletin Board public group, and now there is the Battlestar Bulletin Board.
And I'm the one that's been drinking tonight.
No, all I'm drinking is soda because I have to go get my blood drawn tomorrow, and I don't want to screw up my numbers. Anyway, as we're going to be talking about this, can you explain what the three of them are so that we have a frame of reference?
Absolutely, Shawn. Give us the heads up.
I don't know, because I've been enjoying a as well, so I'll do the best I can.
And he's got the most outstanding background, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? I know Tipsy Toaster would like the toasters behind me. So, yeah, well, I think 5 years ago, the world
smell the colonials burning. I mean, toasters. Anyways.
Right. Obviously, there was a few things going on back in 2020, I think, for all of us, right? And for me, one thing was the Battlestar Bulletin Board. So, kicked off about 5 years ago during the pandemic. It was a private group, and actually, I want to thank a lot of the guys on here, especially Tipsy Toaster and Pete. You guys were instrumental. You really encouraged me early on when we didn't have a whole lot of members. So definitely appreciate you guys. But yeah, started back during the pandemic, and really, I think it came around because honestly, I was a little frustrated with some of maybe the rules and regulations of other groups and whatnot, and wanted to have find a place with my own voice, right? To share what I know for the show that we all love so much. So started with the private group. It grew very quickly. We got over 1,500 members as it stands today, and the private group's really about all fans, myself, anyone who's a member. Can obviously post and enjoy, just like many of the groups that are out there. Soon after we started with we launched a public page. That one, and Fran, I love your intro there because I know what you're speaking about with the reimagined series and whatnot, and I get it fully. But both pages are 95% classic, skewed. Obviously, looking at the 1978 Battlestar Galactica. I will say the public page is a little more open. I'd say we do cover some other sci-fi, and I've left the door just cracked open just a bit. If BSG, which is a huge intellectual property, of course, of Universal Studios, if it were to come back in any form. That would be the place where we cover that.
We're trying.
And then most recently, Battlestar Bulletin Board, Launch Bay. That's I think what we're going to speak to today. That's about fan fiction. That's about creators coming together and posting their work on there. But that's kind of the iteration and I guess the history of the bulletin board.
Okay, because I know one of the things you've said you want to do is to kind of draw all the fanfic together, because as we were talking the other day, there is a Facebook fanfic page. There's Robert Hansick's Galactica fanfic page. The issue there is that the program he used is not word friendly, so if you send something in, he has to type it in. That's not going to happen anymore. Archive of Our Own and Fanfic Net. And then there's also, you have to dig a little bit for it, but it's a site for unpublished Galactica novels, which includes the Pegasus Chronicles that Sharon Munro and the late much lost Lee Storm did. But you kind of want to start to zip everybody plus the old stuff plus the new stuff. And that's terribly exciting. So let's step back a little bit, because your project right now is the Quest for Earth. And you began to promo that with these incredible bits of artwork. And so what is the whole idea behind Quest for Earth? What are you trying to do? How did you get the idea? And how have you cultivated that? That'll take us the next hour.
Yeah, well, first of all, I like your background. Nice.
Yeah, I just saw that today online. I thought, that looks kind of nifty. That's your latest artwork, right?
It is. It's some of that. So honestly, I think that really, why are we all here, right? So our love of Battlestar Galactica, 1978. So, but one thing we never got, we got the 2004, Ron Moore, but we never got to finish, right? We never got to finish our story. So I kind of looked at it, and this is during the pandemic as well. I kind of looked at it as a writing exercise, if you will. What if we did have a continuation, and what if it was in real time today, 4 decades later, right? Now, part of that would be if we're going, with this exercise. Richard Hatch, unfortunately, is no longer with us. Lauren Green, John Colicos, right? So that became part of the story. We're not going to have those characters, but how can they still be present? They cast a long shadow, right? And so that kind of led me in the story kind of wrote itself at some point where, okay, I asked myself questions. Where are these people 4 decades later? Would they still be, traveling wagon train through space? Or realistically, would the people at some point say, hey, enough's enough. We'd like our feet on solid ground. And that's kind of where, New Coble came from. I also looked at, I didn't want to just jump in to the pew, 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 right? Right from the get-go. So I looked at, and I don't know, what fans will think about this for Battlestar Galactica, but I looked at Titanic and I looked at Pearl Harbor. The two things that those things have in common, James Cameron's film, the inciting incident doesn't happen until 90 minutes into the film. Pearl Harbor, same thing. It's 90 minutes in before the actual attack on Pearl Harbor. So I thought that was interesting, and I could world build, if you will, right? Catch everybody up on where the characters are, 4 decades later. What is the situation in their lives, today, and also bring in another until we get to the Cylons, who eventually, spoiler alert, will show up. Bring in another, antagonist, right? In this case, I chose the Nomen, which I think, they were in 2 episodes, right, in the original series. So there's a lot to explore there. And so I really, took that. And like some of the images you're seeing, I kind of stumbled on that by accident, to be very honest. What I wanted to do, Fran, and you mentioned all those fantastic, fanfic sites that are out there, and I'm a part of those as well. But I think Professor Pad knows this, and I think you know this as well. Sometimes in fandom, you got to have a hook. How are you going to get folks to read the story, right? In my case, if you were to pull up, the Quest for Earth on one of the sites that it's already been plastered on, you'll see it's a 297-page fan fiction, right? I don't know if anyone wants to invest in an amateur's 297-page, magnum opus. So, but what I started to do with Bulletin Board is put out some teasers a month in advance, put out some images, put out some of the story with threads and plots, and started to build some excitement, right? And then using obviously some AI, ChatGPT, OpenArt AI as well. Took still images, we're able to turn them into moving images, and now you've got a compelling, hopefully, exciting story that is immersive. And so that's really where I'm kind of the impetus of this and what we're trying to do is make it an immersive experience. But at the end of the day, just like a special effect in a movie, you got to have a story to support it, or it's all for naught, right? So that's kind of what we're trying to do.
And the scenes that you are using for the immersive, be they still, be they animated, they are enhancing the story. They're not there just to say, I can do this.
Right.
One of the things that I hated with I really wanted to like The Mandalorian, but it was 2 minutes of story and then ridiculously over the top special effects, and it ruined it. So I think what you're doing is very, very targeted and very much adding to it.
Mhm.
You actually say in some of the stories, if you haven't read it, they're actually literally passing a baton from the original generation to the new one. And I love the idea that, our guys are still in charge, but the new ones are coming up. And again, that is the logical progression. One of the things is Apollo is not there. Now, in G80, The Return of Starbuck, the only episode worth watching, it's implied that he's dead. But and in the never produced Dear God, Would It Have Been Singer revival, he's a prisoner of the Cylons. Are we going to learn his fate, or do we just have to keep hanging on?
You gotta hang on, Fran. You be paid. No, I'm
Ah!
kidding. Well, the other piece of this is I mentioned 297 pages, blood, sweat, and tears. It took me months just on the outline and breaking the story, breaking the character arcs, uh, basically the entire story down. But also part of it was I knew I was going to catch some flack for no Apollo, and they were going to, obviously, and no Adama. And you and I talked offline, obviously made a decision to keep it real time. And this exercise being, what if we were to make something today? You don't have those actors at your disposal. We don't want to recast those people, right? But it makes sense to show these folks 4 decades later because I don't know. I'm sure there's stories out there. I haven't seen a lot of them that are real-time continuations 4 decades later. I think a lot of including my own, a lot of the fanfic is, in the moment with our favorite characters running around doing their thing, just like they did in 1978, right? But yes, to answer your question, I do plan on having some, end game with Apollo. As we start the story, he has passed on. He's no longer with us. He does cast a big shadow, but it gave an opportunity to kind of hand it to the next generation, as you said. Starbuck of all people is the commander now. President Athena, a strong female character, a character that was underutilized in the TV show, right? For reasons I think most folks are aware of with Maren Jensen and just just the casting dynamics. But that was a character I thought that we never really explored, right? So that's an opportunity to show a really strong character and kind of have the Adama family still strongly represented. As far as Apollo, I didn't mention this at the top. This again, 297 pages. It was a lot to get done. It took a good year, but this is actually a trilogy. So the part two is called the Gods of War. Part two will be a direct sequel to The Quest for Earth, but it's also a direct sequel to the obviously very popular War of the Gods episode from the classic series. And that'll get into a lot of the metaphysical and the spiritual parts of, Glenn Larson's piece, obviously, Kobol and the Ship of Lights, Ship of Darkness, as well. And then we get into a third act, where, I think, unlike Star Trek or unlike James Bond and some other, genre stuff, I always felt Galactica did need an end. So, whether do they find Earth? When they find it, what state is it in? Does it have apes, Eric?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. Or, does it have Buck Rogers? Or is it back in the Stone Age or what have you? So, but yes, we will learn Apollo's fate at some point.
Okay, and you got in this, and folks, if you haven't read this, you've got to sit down and read it because it's really cool. The Cylons and the No Men have joined, and you have a different background of where the No Men came from, that they're not colonists. They were there when the colonists showed up.
Yep.
So I presume that's something we just have to wait and see how that plays out, because the three No Men we know from Man with Nine Lives, they're kind of the trilogy of Imperious leaders. So it's curious to me how that comes about. And I just love your new Cylons, the rise of Spectre. In the original series, Spectre was kind of a lovable rogue and a schemer, but he's much darker now.
Yes.
And why is he aligning with the Cylon, with the Nomen? Because I thought
Right.
his scheme was to become Imperious leader, and I hope he hasn't lost all of his, what's the right word, insouciance, that he can still be a little bit clever and funny. And
No, not at all. Yeah.
is that part of the overall plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we all that one episode with Spectre, right? The Long Patrol. That was a great dynamic with him and Baltar and, and Lucifer, of course, the
Yes.
jealousy, right? Piece. So definitely want to play off of that. But let me start with the Nomen. So when I sat down and took those several months, banging away at the keyboard on what I wanted the story to be about, and again, that first 90 minutes, if it was a film, we're not going to see silence really a whole lot.
Ah,
Who's who's pushing the story forward, who's the antagonist, and what would that look like? And again, landed on the Nomen. My allegory for the Nomen, which I got excited about when I was writing it, is they, as you said, they are actually native to the colonies. So if you know the history of Galactica and the mythology, Kobol's the mother world of humanity. The 12 tribes leave Kobol because it's a dying planet. They found the 12 colonies. Well, in our universe, with the quest for Earth, when the colonists get there to the 12 worlds, the Nomen are already there. So they are the Native Americans, if you will, of the colonies. And then they ultimately found themselves on the moon of Borella, where they became the Borellian Nomans. And I just thought that was a great, maybe exciting piece to explore. And so as you look at kind of the attitude that even the boomers of the world and Apollo and Starbuck, when they first encountered the Nomen in the TV series, it was like, oh my gosh, Nomen are amongst us, and you could see they were kind of second class citizens, right? So we wanted to explore that and why they're so angry at humanity, why they're so angry at the colonists, and I thought that would be a good dynamic as far as how they got to be with the Cylons. The last time we saw the Nomen in the TV series, they had escaped, right, from Baltar's escape. They had made off on one of the Eastern Alliance, ships, heading off to Lunar 7, and we never really heard from them again. So in our story, obviously they end up hooking up with Cylons, and they make a deal with the devil. And much like Baltar found himself at the top of a pedestal in a base ship with the Cylons, so too do the Nomen. However, the difference is the Cylons, they kind of have Baltar under their thumb. That's not really the case with the Nomen. These are It's a warrior clan, right? So they made them assimilate. And that's why you see Maga, Bora, and Taba. They're now half Cylon. They're cyborgs. So
Yeah.
so excited to explore that. But yes, much more to follow. And as far as Spectre, and no one's asked about Lucifer, surprisingly, but Lucifer will show up later in a very, I think, unique way. If you read any of the Robert Thurston books between Battlestar 11 to 14, you know what happens to Lucifer, and I consider that canon. And it's something I haven't really talked about much, but in this universe for Quest for Earth, those 4 books are canon. And Gemma, who's a new character, she's the daughter of someone from those books. And so kind of weaving that in, I wanted to keep the connection between the original period of the series and the novels and the Marvel comics, etc., wherever I could. And so that's maybe a little bit of an Easter egg there.
Okay.
That's really cool.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that is freaking awesome is your artwork. Oh my God. When I first started to see the things, it's pretty cool looking. It is so evocative and is so much part of the stories. And the level of realism. And yeah, it's a little frustrating that the characters as portrayed don't look that much like the original actors, but I know there are licensing issues in that. And there's
Sure.
also a certain amount that you can and can't do as you're learning how to do this. But
Mhm.
I'm just, how are you coming about this? How are you how are you doing this?
Yeah, awesome. Fair questions, and also I can see in chat a couple things as well. I wanted to mention. So there, real quick, there's a question about is there other Nomen besides the three that are with the Cylons now? And yes, there's actually a lot. There's several clans, and there's a clan that's with the Cylons. There's clans that are not. They're on New Kobol. They're isolationists. They're kind of off on their own, and they kind of duke it out a little bit. But
And you
they're
also have
definitely
you also have a Nomen who is a member of the fleet,
yes. We have
and
the
we're
yes,
not real sure
yeah.
where he's going to go yet.
Yeah, you're going to see him. You're going to see a lot more of him. Arataka, or Taka for short. You're going to see a lot of him very, very soon. He's really been befriended, if you will, by Boxy, by Captain Boxy, and Boxy's kind of taken him under his wing. As you can imagine, having a Gnomon on a Battlestar, there's a lot that goes into that within the ranks. So excited there. But yes, there are a lot more Gnomon elsewhere. Robert Baum also. If the Cylons swore to eradicate all humanity, how did they come to forge an alliance with the Cylons? Again, much like Baltar, it's just they kind of made a deal with the devil, and from the Cylon perspective, they're using the Nomen just like they use Baltar. And I would say that in a way they were a replacement for Baltar for me. So having Maga and those other two in a Cylon base ship, up on those pedestals, that was my replacement for Baltar in a fashion. So there's that. As far as the images, so yeah, and I can't wait because I'll tell everybody else soon we're going to be working with you, Fran. We're going to be working with Eric on his Planet of the Apes crossover. And it's going to be on Battlestar Bulletin Board Launch Bay. It's going to be what we call an immersive series. So this is fan fiction that will be supported by, they could be still images, comic book images, cartoon images, photorealistic images. It could also be, video clips. At some point down the line, I want to get sound as well. I've heard a couple critiques about there's no sound with the videos. We'll get there, I promise. But the images, so here's real quickly, I'll tell you the secret sauce, if you will. And in my work life, I stumbled upon ChatGPT, as like I think a lot of us have, and so I have a ChatGPT account. I also have an OpenArt AI account. So what I do is I basically upload my chapter at a time. I break down the chapter into storyboards. I will work with, I call him Chad, by the way, Chat GPT. He's my buddy Chad. So I work with Chad on breaking down the beats of a chapter into probable images that are compelling and exciting. And from there we get storyboards. From there, it's a lot of trial and error, a lot of long hours of trial and error. But once I land on an image that I really like, I'll take that image and I'll bring it over to OpenArt AI, and I'll plug it into the video feature there, and voila, you got a 5-second moving image to support the story, right? And again, a lot of trial and error, but it's been a lot of fun.
It's
I
just,
think
yeah, go ahead.
I think, well, yeah, just what's great. I mean, I'm getting more caught up to this now since you told me about this only, John. But again, what impresses me so much about it is that it does, because my experience has always been that those of us who feel we have a strength in writing stories, we tend not to have any talent whatsoever when it comes to drawing or anything like that, or doing art and such. And yet these types of programs are providing an opportunity to bring that visual dynamic to this. I think the only other recourse that I ever could have used in the past would have been to take screen caps of the actors from an episode and maybe say, oh, this could maybe be shoehorned into a scene or something like that. I mean, being very limiting, but here it just is astonishing to me to see what the capabilities are rising to, and that's why I'm so fascinated to see what you're doing.
Well,
that's
now,
looking forward to see what else
yeah,
will come.
you want to make this another receptacle for art or for fanfic. If somebody has something,
Mm-hmm.
how do they get it to you? How do they become part of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So, and
Okay.
if you go to the if you go to the featured section of Battlestar Bulletin Board Launch Bay, there's basically some guidance on that in one of the featured posts. I'll also periodically make sure that I do post little promos, ads, if you will, on exactly what the process is. But in short, just reach out to me. Obviously, I'm the admin. My name's on it. You can reach out to me directly. Give me, hit me up with a DM. And just like you did, Fran, same with, Eric. And what we'll do is, we'll start to collaborate. We'll see, you, the author, any authors out there, what is your vision? How do you see your story? Because you do have to break it down maybe a little differently than you would write in a PDF, or again, 297 pages. I can only post 5, 6, 7 pages at a time, realistically, in a Facebook format sort of situation, right? So, excuse me, you do have to kind of take that into consideration, but I would work with the author. So just hit me up if you have work out there, any writers, if you'd like to work together and get your stuff, get your work on the bulletin board. Happy to do that. And we'll work together. We'll break down the chapters. We'll break down the story. And just like I said with you, Fran, and you too, Eric, what is a compelling, image for this chapter that would represent the chapter best? Now, I've gone in my posts, sometimes I've gone up to, I don't know, 7 images maybe. You don't have to do that. Maybe there's one image that tells everything you want to say about that particular chapter. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a video. It could be a comic strip. It could be black and white. It could be, graphic novel type. We could go in any direction you want. I chose I kind of, as it developed, and you can see some of the images. These are photorealistic in many cases.
Yeah.
They look like real people. They look like, it looks like I hired actors,
It,
right?
it looks like an actual film. It looks like it's
Yeah.
a real movie.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not only that, but the detail
Yeah.
is just stunning.
Well, and yeah, thank you. I think I'm very I grew up the same as you guys, in the 70s with Spielberg and all those. And so I was out there with my non-sound movie camera, blocking for with the kids in the neighborhood. And so it's the idea was when I saw that I could do this and I saw what the images could be to support the story. I wanted to be cinematic, right? That was just my choice. I wanted it to be cinematic. And so that's the way I went. But yeah, if anyone is interested, just hit up, check out Battlestar Bulletin Board Launch Bay. Hit me up, and I'd be happy to work with you.
Just kind of one question for the long term, because I know since this is all just starting right now, do you think eventually over time this process can be sort of refined so that you can have, even in a sense, multiple stories, unfolding, like, a segment of one story one day, another, because when you consider just the magnitude of the backlog of stories that have already been written by so many people over the last 20, 30 years, the ones that you can find at Robert's site and others that are still ongoing, that hopefully if the process becomes more efficient, there can be multiple things going at once.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Right now, obviously, I'm swamped with what we are trying to do here.
You need to clone yourself.
Well, and also too, like in and I'm learning as I go. But in Facebook, there is I think there's a 50. When I put a chapter up, I put it up in the featured section. So if you're looking for Battlestar Bulletin Board Launch Bay, you go to the Launch Bay site page group rather. You go to featured, and there you'll see all the chapters. There is a limit; it goes up to 50. So nothing can be more than 50 chapters, guys. So there you go. But to Eric's point, I think what I foresee is once we're done with this first launch, if you will. For Quest for Earth. Then let's say, for argument's sake, we go into Fran's, Tally of the Souls next. Then that would dominate the featured section for that length of time while we have that run. But to Eric, to your point, I do think there is a time where hopefully soon, I think we could do have multiple, almost like a TV series, right? On Tuesday nights you can check out Eric's Planet of the Apes, right? And on Thursday nights you can check out
That's
Tally of the Souls.
450 pages in its original format.
Yeah.
And of
Well,
course,
yeah.
hopefully long term, if the whole because the reason I picked that one from my own work to start was because I wanted to start with what I think is my best standalone project. I think it's way too early to consider the virtual season project. It's so because there's been so much of that at this point in time, and that couldn't possibly work at this juncture. I mean, the whole if that's ever to become part of it, it's got to wait until I think we've seen how this works with a good standalone projects that are already out there, and some of the standalone short stories that exist out there that can be worked with too.
Yeah, well, this is the segue now because we've talked about Quest for Earth, which is the epic, and some of the standalone stuff. Tallies of the Souls is the first of what was supposed to be a trilogy, but I never got past the second one. And then I've got Homecoming, subtitled Get the Boy Home, which is standalone. But Eric's got the crossover, and that's the first one of that is working with you for the artwork. And tell us about that one.
So before we get into that, though, there's a couple of things. Number one is I actually read Professor Paddon's original crossover, right? POTA and BSG, right? Planet of the Apes meets Battlestar Galactica. It's a full crossover. It's phenomenal, right? Two awesome franchises we grew up watching, and I read it and I was like, wow. You could see how much went into, like, the work that went into it. I know we discussed this previously, specifically with Professor Paddon on how long it took him to do it. And when you read it, you read whether you're reading a chapter that's the Planet of the Apes characters, or if you're flipping over to you continue reading and now it's the Battlestar characters, it's them. You feel, it's like you're reading them and it's there.
Okay,
but
so let me jump. Where is it?
One second, Fran. Well,
okay.
I just wanted to before we continue on, and I know we're going to get into this, but before we forget, I want to make a quick announcement. Everyone here, including yourself, Fran and Shawn, Professor Paddon, all of you, in one form or another, supported the Stranded Warrior, our own fan film. But I also want to mention that Professor Paddon, your help that you gave us, consulting, talking back and forth the story and giving background and the like, especially when we were at Dragon Con, we talked a lot about Battlestar. Just want to make sure that we publicly let everybody know, including yourself, that on IMDb you've gotten your credit as a consultant, creative consultant for the Stranded Warrior, and wanted to thank you publicly for helping us out. And so it's, for the record, it's out there for posterity's sake. Thank you so much for doing that. Unfortunately, it took us a little time to catch up with this, but here's to you, Professor. Thank you for doing what you do. Of course, Shawn and Fran, you guys as well. But Professor, thank you so much. Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Very much. So to get back, because it's a fantastic crossover, is that all posted on the bulletin board, or do I have to find some other location?
You can find it. It's not on the bulletin board, but you can certainly find the earliest version. It is on archived on Robert's site, and also on the Facebook fanfic page, which has been around for a few years. There's a PDF copy of that amidst all the PDFs of the virtual season too. But it's but
it is also on bulletin board. It is now also.
It's not,
okay. I've got to find the other ones. Okay.
Gotta look at those other two.
So talk about the crossover and where it came from and where it goes, because a lot of times crossovers are forced and they're not fun.
Well, it started back in the late 90s in my grad school days. I wanted to write a alternate take on the second Planet of the Apes movie because I enjoy the first movie, but I hate the downer ending of Beneath the Planet of the Apes. That whole just simple, it ends with the whole world being blown up here. Boy, what a downer that is. And, that was I know that was something that Charlton Heston literally coaxed them into doing, and figured this way they won't ask me to do another sequel again, because he really had to be roped into just doing a cameo in Beneath, and that was not how the original script was supposed to end. But that's what they did, and then he later said, but they were smarter than I thought. They continued it with the time travel thing. But it was such a dire thing, I figured, isn't there a way of writing an alternate take on that? I started to write one, and I realized I don't have quite a big level of a comfort zone with the Apes universe to write a pure standalone alternate take. And then I realized the way out of the box was to make it a Galactica crossover, because I realized there is a natural, organic reason for this crossover to exist. I mean, the fleet's searching for Earth. Well, why can't they just find it, 2,000 years in the future, and the Earth ends up being the Earth of the first Planet of the Apes movie here? So there, at least it's not, I think, a forced kind of crossover thing. It involves out a piece of organic storytelling here, that this is what they find, and the idea is setting it within about 6 to 9 months after the end of the first movie. I incorporated elements from Beneath into it, the mutant underground civilization in St. Patrick's Cathedral. I incorporated the element of the second spaceship coming on a rescue mission with the Brent character, although he's very different in this version than in the second movie. And this just ended up building and building a 450-page epic of this clash of the cultures, and figure out how's this going to work. And of course the fleet has to deal with the problem, and because this is set like about 20 years after the original series, so Apollo is the commander, Adama is dead. There is a character of Apollo and Sheba have a daughter who's an up-and-coming warrior who also plays a big part in the story as well. And you have the element of the Cylons kind of stalking all this time. They sort of we're waiting for you to them to lead us to Earth here. So they have to deal with those dual elements too. And I just had so much fun building this world and dynamic of the crossover. I wasn't in any rush to finish it, but it ended up being a 450-page epic. And I found that getting the two universes to interact, it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be once I thought I was in a comfort zone. And it is self-contained. It did leave the door open for a follow-up, but then I realized if I was ever going to write a follow-up, it would have to be just as long as the first one was, and I don't have another 450-page story in me. So it ends on at least on a positive Hand of God style note here, in which you can maybe envision future developments, but it can at least be a decent, hard enough ending as it is.
Okay.
Well,
yes,
so now,
Pete, you raise your hand.
Yeah. So where are we going to go? Is there a collaboration in the works here? Tell us where are we going? Because I know, right, Shawn, you got your BSG story moving forward. You've been working on it, but Professor Paddon, you've had your series going now for several years.
20 years.
Exactly. So, but now this you guys are collaborating. Explain to the fans what's going on between the two of you.
That's Fans for the Fleet.
Yeah, I'll take this. I'll lead off here. So I've been chatting a little bit with Eric. Very, very, very early stages. I'm sure he would agree. I did feel compelled, and I couldn't help myself. And I went and I did post a teaser on Battlestar Bulletin Board launch bay, and Eureka! It was probably one of our most popular posts to see the image of the Planet of the Apes with two colonial warriors with the Statue of Liberty in the background, and we got a lot of play out of that. It's very exciting, right? It's two iconic franchises coming together, so super excited. So yeah, the plan will be, Pete, shortly, really, as we come to our conclusion with Quest for Earth, book one, if you will. Immediately, my plan is, you'll start to see, you might even see him before that. Again, I can't wait either. I'm just as excited as everyone else to see Eric's story come to life, and same with Fran's Tally of the Souls. So You'll start to see teasers here and there. We'll drop them now and then, very quickly, and then we'll go, bam, right into it. And very much my plan would be very much like you're seeing with Quest for Earth. You'll see weekly, maybe one chapter a week, 2 chapters a week, something like that, depending on how much we can put together and how quickly. And obviously don't want to forego quality, obviously, just to rush. There's no reason to rush. So. But that's the plan. Yeah, absolutely. As we get past Quest for Earth, we'll jump into Tally of the Souls, into Planet of the Apes crossover, and I'm just super super excited because I can't wait to see what images we come up with to support that story. I think it's gonna be really 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 cool.
Cool. Looking forward to all of this.
I'm looking because okay. I was looking at something that Eric was talking about, how long it was, and Tally, by comparison, is my Word document's 169 pages. So that's going to be a little more manageable for us, Eric.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And it's funny because Shawn said, go through Tally and pick out the scenes. But one thing that I want is that in it, the Gang of Four, Apollo, Starbuck, Boomer, and Sheba, get the Star Cluster for fighting for their actions in defeating the base star at the end of Hand of God. And this story starts immediately after Hand
That's
Hand
propaganda.
of God ends with guys leaving the celestial chamber, and Tally starts with Starbuck dragging Apollo into the O Club for the party. So they get their gold, and just ideas of what that would actually look like. And then I go, well, this is a good scene. Well, this is a good scene. Well, and it's just, I am a very visual writer, so I have to see the characters, hear the voice of the actor, get their movements. So my writing is very visual because of that. And I'm thinking in terms of scene, scene, scene. And like, well, this would be good. Well, that will be interesting. And I'm just very excited about it. Just
Fran,
the cover you've given me is so exciting.
I'm glad you liked it. I just excuse me. I just really believe strongly that for example, the truth of the matter is the Quest for Earth has been around out there for several years now, and I think I had 12 reviews right on a particular site. And again, I think your story is amazing. Eric's Planet of the Apes. I think this gives an opportunity for folks to find it, right? And hopefully, as I told you off to the side, and maybe I mentioned it earlier, I don't recall, but the image is basically a hook, right? It's a hook.
Yeah, definitely.
The story is still the story, right? The story is still number one. Still, the story is priority one. But the images are the hook, and I know this because as I began to post, and I have to give credit, William Cullen, I think on one of the Battlestar sites, he's reposted a lot of stuff, and it's getting 600, 700, 800 hits or likes, or and whatnot, and a lot of comments and a lot of dialogue, and look, it's the story's been out there, so that it truly is the visual that is bringing folks in, and that's awesome, right? That's awesome. Yeah. So now they're going to read it. They're going to discover Fran's work. They're going to discover Eric's work. They're going to discover others, fan fiction work, and that's what's really exciting.
Yeah.
I think
one of the things,
like you said, the visuals is where it's at. I mean, pictures speak 1,000 words, and if you could just one picture that's generated that comes out and gives some kind of visual to one part of the story, it becomes a movie-esque kind of thing. It gives you some kind of visual for that, so now your mind can go farther, your imagination can go farther on that. So now I have an idea what that person looks like. Now I have an idea what's going on in that, and now I can take that and put it in my mind, and I can now put it now that what else is written next, whatever the next chapter is, whatever else, I can refer back to that visual and see, in my mind what's going on. I think I think visuals are so important, and especially to me, because I'm not much of a reader sometimes, but visuals are extremely important. I think that leads a lot to this. I mean, I think you have done something, Shawn. I think you've done something that's starting to become a new genre, a new thing. It's something that becomes, it's no longer just a written story. It's a written story with reference. It's a written story with visual references. It's a written story with, and sooner or later, it's going to be a written story with visual references and then audio. There's going to be, you're going to get to the point with AI, with everything else. We now have an outlet. We now have the ability to grab this new technology and utilize it for fandom's sake. I mean, we have the ability to actually now create that visual, and I think as we go on, we'll be able to create almost like a comic book or a movie with this thing. I think it's it's just touching the tip of the iceberg. And I think, Shawn, you've gotten right there on the beginning of this. I'm really impressed with the pictures and everything and the videos. I think you're onto something new, and you're pulling the fandom in. Once again, fans through the fleet. You're pulling the fandom in. You're pulling people in. It's not just you anymore. It's hey, let's talk about this. What's your opinion? What's your ideas? Let's put something together. I think that's the family that we need. Yeah.
Fran and I were talking about audiobook eventually, right?
Yeah.
And why
I think eventually you'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah, put audio to it. Sure.
This is a case where I think you've almost created a new genre, because this is not a graphic novel. This is not a comic. This is not stills. You've really creating something unique. And I think that makes it very exciting, and that we get to play and get close to. And if people read things, writers in our genre, it's hard to stay enthusiastic about writing when it's a fandom that's not exploding all over, and it's smaller. And if people read things, do send us comments, because it's really hard when you feel as though you're writing for a void, and something that just says, gee, I like it. Tell me what was good. Tell me what you didn't. And that invigorates us. I know Eric and I have spoken about that, and I'm sure the same with Shawn. And I write fanfic for some other fandoms, and it's all kind of the same. Don't just say kudos. Okay, that's nice. Give me a little bit of an ego boo, bluntly, and then that encourages, or say, oh, gee, the character could have done this, and gee, it would have been interesting if, and that sparks more ideas and more enthusiasm and more fanfic.
I think what you're saying is
it helps as a boost. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, it does. Sorry, go ahead, Professor Paddon.
Well, yeah, it helps. It helps as a boost. I think if this visual approach is to help what we've written achieve a wider audience and wider type of feedback in this day and age, so much the better. I mean, I've been at this really for 30 years nonstop, basically, with a brief interlude. But I've seen us go through kind of the peak explosion period of fanfic writing, which I think was in the 90s and early 2000s, which you had the biggest level of output when Robert's site was kind of like posting new stories on a fairly regular basis. And then kind of in a sense it fades over time a bit more, and those of us like myself who kept writing, we had to sort of make peace with the idea that well, I'm just kind of writing this for my own personal sense for us. You have to have that element of I enjoy doing this, even if only a dozen people are going to end up reading this search. I mean, I'll be honest, that's really what's kept me going the last 6 or 7 years since I dived back into this. I mean, because I wanted to finish this long-standing, project that's been going on, even though I know that at present it's only going to get a fairly minimal amount. But I'm certainly excited to see that the possibilities of what you're doing here, Shawn, can allow people to rediscover, what's been written, in the past, and open themselves to what the levels of creative output there have been in the past through using these new techniques. So again, I'm looking forward to see how it keeps playing out further in the future.
Yeah, and encourage them to write too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we
Running out
a
of time.
couple of things just relevant to the nexus of all of us is conventions. Dragon Con Atlanta, August 28th to September 1st of this year,
Got my tickets.
2025.
Got my
I know that
tickets.
Fran has tickets. Fran's going. I'm not sure about the rest of you here present, but I
I'm
know
afraid
a
I'm
lot of the
passing this time.
Okay.
I
A
can't
lot of
work
the
it
fans are
by
going to be
budget.
out there. So if you're going to Dragon Con, make sure, Fran, that we have a way to have you meet up with IFB fans and BSG fans in general. But also a little earlier than that is Comic Palooza 2025 in Houston, Texas. Battlestar Fan Club is celebrating their 25th anniversary. They have two panels set up. One is Saturday the 21st, and then Sunday the 22nd. It's an all-star BSG cast members coming from the 1978 classic and of course the reimagined. So there's going to
And
be
Raider 1. That's the important
and Raider
part.
1, of course.
That's the
Yeah,
important
there's going to
part.
be
And
the
that's Cylon
models,
Raider.
and there's going to be Battlestar cosplay. It's going to be really, really cool. So if any of you are going, please make sure that you let us know. We want to hear about it. We want to have some pictures from the fans. So if you guys that are out there, I mean, we have our own liaison that's going to be on and probably going to be able to hopefully film some
She's on
clips
next week, I
at the
think, right?
con. Yeah, Eric is on, and so we're gonna have boots on the ground, but anybody else as well is cool. Unfortunately, New York Pete, myself, and of course Tipsy Toaster are not going to be able to attend. We have a busy schedule with a lot of the film festivals waiting back from word. Like you guys already should know that we got selected for 3 international film festivals for The Stranded Warrior and have already won a special award for the film. And so we're very proud of that accomplishment, but we're also enthusiasts of the fan fiction. It's for the fans, from the fans, and it keeps everything going. And I mean, the three of you represent that whole world. It's encapsulated. Fran, you're a legacy fan fiction writer, Battlestar Galactica, and then of course Professor Paddon. You've been doing it for 30 years, and Shawn, you've been doing this for
And Shawn's-
decades. I would
and
assume.
breaking new grounds. I mean, Shawn's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's incredible, and we're really proud of you, and thank you for being a part of the IFB family. Really appreciate you guys taking the time out to keep Battlestar going with your own take on what what it might have been, but you kind of make it our own, and it grows, and it's just awesome.
And I think I put it in. We have a book coming out shortly, but I like to say it's the what ifs.
Yep.
The fans like to see the what if, they grab the what ifs. What if this happened? What if that happened? And being fan fiction writers, you create that what ifs. You go and look at those things and go, and you ask yourself, what if this or what if that? And that's what fuels a whole new story, a whole new world, a whole new idea that creates another universe. It creates more of the thing that we love the most. In this case, Battlestar Galactica. I'm waiting for a crossover. I've seen a crossover with V, by the way. I thought it was amazing.
Yes.
Waiting for a crossover with
Really
Logan's
good.
Run. One of you guys can reach that one. I would love that piece, as a matter of fact.
I did do a short 10-pager with the time tunnel. So you can
And yes, Pete's got the there it is. And there's these. There's so many things that we can connect with, and I think
So
a fan fiction that the three of you have started and done and encouraged others. That's what's so great is you actually reached out and helped others. Hey, tell me what you think. Tell me, and you've encouraged others to create things. And then now we've got AI and everything else, the pictures and the video and things like that. I think we're on the cusp of something great for fandom. I think Hollywood's missing out on this quite right now. I think sooner or later maybe they'll wake up. But the ability to create new stories, the ability to create visuals that we have now will fuel the fans and hopefully fuel the next Battlestar Galactica reboot. Or I hate to say reboot, it's not the right word, but the new Battlestar Galactica, the new
continuation.
Yeah, the continuation of these things, and you have fueled those ideas. And I think, hopefully someday that Hollywood reaches out to us, the fans, and says, hey, what do you want to see? What do you think would happen? And I think, maybe someday, maybe they'll wake up. They'll stop chasing that almighty dollar. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But hopefully they'll stop chasing that almighty dollar and ask us, the fans, what would you like to see? What do you think could have happened? That what if thing that I talked about, I think that is what you create. You create those ideas in our minds, and I thank you so much. It's so great. You're just as important as the people who that acted in the videos or the movies, the people who wrote the originals. You're just as important because as fans, you're creating new content, you're creating new ideas, you're creating new fans, and that's what's so important. Get other people involved, get them excited about the product. And Pete's got his glass up, so I know what that means.
No, I just now feel so validated.
But Fran, you're one of the you're one of the very first people that I read, and I'm not much of a reader, in regards to fan fiction. Tally of the Souls and those things there. We didn't know who. We stumbled across you when we started this for Tally of the Souls, and some of the things there. It was like, oh, this is a fantastic. And we were in awe when we first started. We were in awe of you in regards to, hey, this is a great. Look, we have Fran on. It was one of the things we did at one point in time. It was fantastic. And then the Professor Paddon, and then
we got
Shawn,
Fran coming, and then Professor Paddon.
These are things that were. These are things that were
way back, way back.
It was 4 years ago, probably.
I was still living in Bel Air, so it must have Bel Air, Maryland. It must have been. It was before the 20th reunion. We had a group that got together every Sunday on AOL, and we had a writing. We would chat. There's a few people I still know where they are, and once in a while they'll kind of surface, and that's that was kind of my group. And then we all grew up and life got in the way. And when I found you guys, it was like, I want to see where everybody is, and we stumbled across each other, and I don't even remember how I got it. Was your email, Chris?
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm home. I found my tribe again, and it's just so cool. I'm 72 years old, and I still feel like I'm 25, and that is wonderful.
And that's what makes us live on forever. It's going to be here long past us. I think the stories, the ideas that we fuel, the three of us, the four of us, fuel will be here long past the. I guess someday the internet will not be the internet; it'll be something else. But I think it's great, and I really, I do appreciate what you do.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, and Pete's giving me the glass again.
Pete's like,
guys, thanks so much.
Yes,
thanks for coming on, everybody that's watching. Thanks you
guys.
for watching.
Thank you.
And thanks for everybody that watches this later on, right? So, and hey. It's a pleasant surprise that thousands of you watch this later on. But thanks everybody for tuning in live. Thanks to all our guests.
Yep.
You guys are all like family.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Chris, parting words.
Fan family, thank you so much.
Fans fuel the fleet.
Fans fuel the fleet.
Good night. Thanks, Scott.
Night. Thank you guys.
Thank you.